A warrant of arrest for the arrest of Omar Hassan Ahmad al-Bashir, the president of Sudan, for war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Sudan's president is now a wanted man, and Washington, as well as human rights groups, welcomed the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant that charged Omar Hassan al-Bashir with war crimes and crimes against humanity. State Department spokesman Gordon Duguid said Bashir should be held accountable.
It is evident that the government of Sudan has the brunt of the responsibility for what has happened in Darfur, and he is the head of that government.
The United Nations says as many as 300,000 people have been killed in the conflict between African rebels and the Arab-dominated government in Darfur since 2003, and 2.7 million people have been uprooted, numbers Sudan disputes as an exaggeration. Its UN envoy, Abdel Mahmoud Abdel Halim, condemned the arrest warrant.
It is like pouring oil on fire. In the Sudan, today it is a day of national outrage, a day of national anger.
China and the African Union say the court's move could destabilize the region and threaten peace.
And we're entering a very, very new period of complete uncertainty. Already what we've seen today is the Sudan government is taking action against humanitarian organizations, against human rights organizations. And I think that gives us reason to fear for the worst, because the international response to that will be to ratchet up pressure.
Wrong, say others. Richard Dicker of Human Rights Watch says the warrant will not interfere with peace efforts.
There is no peace process in Darfur, and that's because of the lack of political will.
China urged the UN Security Council on Thursday to suspend the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Sudanese President Bashir. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Qin Gang said Beijing hoped the Security Council would consider the possible consequences of the case against Bashir.
Our focus is peace and stability in the region. We don't want to see all our efforts and achievements in Darfur go to waste because of this act. The Chinese government has made great efforts in order to gain these achievements. Therefore, we express our regret.
This is the first warrant against a sitting head of state by the Hague-based court. However, it did not go as far as accusing him of genocide over a conflict that UN officials say has killed as many as 300,000 people since 2003.
China and Sudan have developed a friendly and cooperative partnership over the past years based on mutual respect, equality, and shared benefits. Our relationship develops in accordance with the UN Charter. It is beneficial to the people of both countries and to the peace and stability in the region. We will continue to develop this friendly and cooperative partnership with Sudan.
China buys much of Sudan's oil. As a permanent member of the UN Security Council, it has resisted proposals to send UN peacekeepers to the area without Sudan's consent. But Beijing has also nudged Sudan to accept peacekeepers to balance the pressure it receives from both sides.
As foreign aid agencies ordered out of Sudan began leaving, its president delivered his own response to the International Criminal Court's call for his arrest over alleged atrocities in Darfur. Omar Hassan al-Bashir revoked the licenses of 10 foreign aid organizations within hours of the warrant for his arrest being issued. He accuses them of passing information on the alleged atrocities to international prosecutors, and he's rejecting charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity as a Western conspiracy.
We say to them this is new colonialism and domination because they want to steal our resources, oil, gas, our lands, water. We say to them no, we will defend our rights.
Médecins Sans Frontières is among the organisations whose staff have been forced to leave.
We think it's a non-respect of an independent humanitarian organisation to be linked to political issues, and we are outraged to be expelled from Sudan.
The charges against Bashir centre on the conflict which erupted in the Darfur region in 2003 when mostly non-Arab rebels took up arms against the government. The government disputes UN estimates that up to 300,000 people have been killed. Some 2.7 million more have been uprooted. In the absence of video documentation of atrocities by government and rebel forces, these children's drawings may be crucial evidence in any case against the president. But there's not universal support for the ICC's decision to press for Bashir's arrest. Some analysts fear it could bring further turmoil to Africa's largest state and the surrounding region. Freed from a feeling that it must pander to the West, Khartoum could mobilize its militias to achieve what some think is a viable military solution in Darfur. The rebels, on the other hand, will be emboldened by the court's decision and have already threatened renewed attacks on the capital. The warrant for Bashir's arrest also costs the West one of its strongest negotiating cards with Sudan, the offer to normalise relations. Those who back the ICC's call for Bashir's arrest on charges including rape, torture and murder say it at least brings justice a step nearer. Others are hoping it'll trigger his removal from power. One thing is absolutely certain: Bashir won't go quietly.
China said on Wednesday its official military budget will grow to $70 billion in 2009, which it calls a modest 14.9% rise on year. Parliamentary spokesman Li Zhaoxing said the defense share of the total budget was lower than the 2008 level, at 6.3%, while the outlay accounted for 1.4% of gross domestic product.
The share of defense spending in China's GDP is around 1.4%, whereas the figure in the United States is about 4%. The UK, France and some other countries spend about 2%. China's limited military power will be solely used for the purpose of safeguarding sovereignty and territorial integrity. This will not pose a threat to any country.
Many foreign analysts believe China's real military outlays are much higher than the official budget, but Li denied any hidden outlays.
In 2007, the Chinese government formally joined the UN Standardized Instrument for Reporting Military Expenditures and reports to the United Nations every year. There is no such thing as a so-called hidden military expenditure in China.
The U.S. defense budget for fiscal 2009 is $515 billion, a 7.5% rise, which does not include multi-billion-dollar outlays for Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as some spending on nuclear weapons. China has been cautiously extending its military exercise beyond its borders in joint peacekeeping forces, most recently sending naval ships to pirate-menaced seas of the Somali coast.